So, why are you stressed all the time? So today we're going to talk about why you're stressed all the time. I don't know if you guys kind of feel this as a general mantra in the room of where we're at as a globally connected social media world, right? And these platforms of YouTube and Twitter and Reddit and Facebook and whatever you use, right? Threads or what have you. A lot of people are stressed. A lot of people are stressed in the current world we find ourselves in. And today, I'm going to endeavor to kind of discuss that a little bit, maybe some ideas about what you can do about that, right? Because there's higher and higher levels of stress, right? Stress contributes to a lot of massively known killers, like coronary heart disease is one of the biggest killers today going, and stress also really negatively affects mental health, and there's high unaliving rates. So I think stress is important to think about and focus on today. So first of all, why are we stressed, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the stress response in the body and the whole point in it, right? So stress is normal and fine and something that's part of our biology and has been part of our biology for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, because we've developed it so we can respond in short spurts to intense stimuli, to some kind of stress. A saber-toothed tiger looking to eat you in the old tall grass. And in that environment, this biologically makes a ton of sense. Cortisol and adrenaline boosts up in your body. Your logical faculties shut down. You can't really think straight too much, but you can physically respond quickly. Your muscles can react faster. You don't have to go through a big reflective process to make a decision in that moment, because you don't need to think it through. You just need to act so you don't get eaten by the tiger, right? Cool. Makes sense. So the environment we find ourselves in is constantly triggering that stress response because of the modern world we live in. And there's no counteracting physical movement that triggers the calming part of your mind. So there's two things I guess I want to point out here. So a lot of y'all might have heard of the nervous system, right? Our body's kind of way of responding to the world, our nerves in our body that send signals all around, right? It's kind of two parts of that nervous system that trigger different hormonal responses in us and different neurochemical responses, right? There's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the part of your nervous system that makes you fight, flight, the part that shoots adrenaline and cortisol in you, the part that generates the stress response, right? And that part's super useful, but that's often balanced out with the parasympathetic nervous system that's activated in physical activity. That's why everyone always says go to the gym, because the gym will chill you out. What's actually happening there is because we have so much in our environment that triggers our sympathetic nervous system, because of deadlines, because of expectations, because of social shame, that and many more things. That's the tip of the iceberg. We're all different, but we have the stress response happen, but we don't have the physical activity in relation to that tells our body, actually, no, we're safe and we're good, right? So if we think about this for a second here, you can probably see, hey, we're having all this stress response happening, and the biology is built to have the stress response and then have the calming response after we've done the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? We don't get that in our modern world. We're sitting down all day, right? We're not moving anywhere near as much as our caveman ancestors were. So the problem we're running into is that we don't get to feel the positive balancing out of that. And I think this really contributes to a lot of challenges we're facing right now with kind of regulating our emotions, right? So I think a big part of emotional regulation is actually activating or rebalancing these nervous systems, right? And I think a lot of things can amplify your stress response, your sympathetic nervous system kind of kicking into gear, right? Expectations are one of them. Your expectations of who you are, who you think you should be, the social norms that you feel you should adhere to, and the stress that comes out of having to kind of fit in those boxes, right? And the stress response comes in here specifically because it's trying to like have you focus in on being in the box, right? That's normal. We want to succeed. We want to do well. We want to feel useful. We want to contribute to the people we care about and maybe our communities at large. But it can be really hard to separate ourselves from our like expectations of our community and our cultures, and etc. And that can amplify up the stress more. And I bring this up because social media basically gives us the extremes of those and the extreme expectations of those. So if we follow this whole line through, right? I'm a guy, I'm a man. There's an expectation of what like a man should do, right? In my cultural environment, okay? So there's this like man box, right? If there are situations where I feel I should be a certain way, and I'm not sure I would 100% fit into that box naturally, my stress response will kick in. This is like true for all of us, right? But I'm using me as an example. And that stress response kicks in because it wants us to like try harder, push harder, and this is like a superpower that's like really helpful to use. But if the bar is set so absurdly high, which it can feel like it is on social media, right? We see people that are really rich. We see people that are like 21 and have a house. Or we see like your favorite content creator and they're like got this massive mansion and it seems like they're doing everything right and they seem so happy, right? That subconsciously raises the bar for us in our heads, right? That emotionally ticks us along in that direction. And then we feel stressed because we feel like we have to push harder and harder to meet those kinds of standards, right? Logically, we can probably point it and go, that's absurd, especially when we maybe talk about it. But I think it's really important to be like laser aware of this when we think about like the kind of content we're taking in, because we're like building these bars up, we're building these expectations up. And then we are continually exhausting ourselves and burning ourselves out by going through these same loops over and over again of constantly being bombarded with what's popular on content generating or content sharing platforms, which we are on one right now, YouTube. And I think it's a huge part of the mental health crisis that we find ourselves in, that like we don't have an environment that activates the parasympathetic nervous system naturally and consistently, and we have a lot of content that creates a really high expectation and bar and makes the box smaller and smaller of what's acceptable, okay? And then only the people who are rich end up feeling acceptable or seem to live these amazing lives, and then we feel shame for existing. We hate ourselves. We punish ourselves. We're like, we're not doing enough. We're not trying enough. And it's insidious, right? And I think in a world where somebody's needs aren't met, when we're shown people have needs, we feel envy, we feel jealousy. And that can make us subconsciously or consciously punish ourselves even more. So that, you wonderful human, might be what's stressing you out all the time. That is a Thunderhawk Coaching take. I've been Will. You've been wonderful. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.